It's with great honor that we welcome our faculty to give our Taalaw address. Senor Diego Ontaneda.
Thank you, Taalaw, for giving me the unwelcome honor and task of having to follow up on that. That was wonderful. Thank you, guys. My name is Diego Ontaneda, Mr. Diego, Senor Diego, whichever you prefer. Actually, can I have the clicker? You? And thank you for letting me give a little speech today. Year ones, welcome to the Academy, welcome to ELA, welcome to Taalaw. Today is for you, and we really hope you enjoy it. Today, I want to talk to you about stories. About your life stories. Not the stories that you tell others, but the stories that you tell yourselves about yourselves in your moments of solitude, in your moments of quiet. Today, I want to invite you to try to write your own stories. And I want to challenge you to get to the point that the stories that you tell yourselves are not the stories that other people have written for you, but that you are the author of your own story. I want to propose today that there's a very simple three-step process that I have laid out for you in a very convenient diagram. But before that, I want to introduce a term that you will hear, that you either have heard already or you will hear this year over and over, and it's authorship. And I have included the pronunciation there, authorship. Can you guys say it with me? Authorship. Beautiful. Which is the act of, the state or act of writing, creating, or changing, or causing. In this case, in the case of your story, I want to challenge you to either write your own story and write your future, to create the change that you want to see in the world and in yourselves, and to cause a new state that you want to see in the world. Back to the simple three-step process that I mentioned. Step one, embrace hard choices and take chances. First, you have to stop being a follower. You have to stop following the masses. You have to stop following what people before you have said is a life that you have to lead. Stop following what your family and your culture and your society say is the right path for you. Because if you do so, even if you succeed, you will have succeeded at living someone else's lives and not your own. For many of you, coming to ALA has been a hard choice. And let me define a hard choice as a choice between options out of which neither is objectively better. That's what makes it a hard choice. The beauty of hard choices is that you get to decide which one's better for yourself. It is you that makes one option better over the other. It is when you face hard choices that your own value judgments come out. And you could say that by taking these hard choices, you define yourselves. If you embrace a hard choice and you're faced with a decision that scares you, I challenge you to take a chance. Stretch yourselves. Put yourself in a position where you might fail. Because it is only when you push your limits that you really understand who you are and who you can be. Even more, by pushing your limits, you define yourselves and you stretch the definition of yourselves. In my case, I was born in Peru, grew up in Peru, and when I was more or less your age, maybe a little bit older, I was faced with a hard decision between staying in Peru or going to study at Williams College in the States. The decision was not only between staying with everything I knew or going to another continent, but it was a decision between staying with the business that I had just started, which was very promising, and understanding that if I left, that business would probably fail, and also a decision between staying with my family, understanding that I was the glue between my parents, and understanding that if I left, they would probably split up. Or and embracing that challenge if I left and went to another country. Understanding that that meant that I would open myself up to the world and to a different kind of education. As you might guess, I left Peru. 6 years after that, I had the hard choice between staying in a prestigious, high-paying job in San Francisco or moving to Honeydew, Johannesburg. You might guess which choice I made. I'll tell you more about that later. Step 1, embrace hard choices and take chances. I like this quote that many Americans here have heard several times over, a poem called The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. I like to think that over and over, I have taken the road less traveled by, and I challenge you to do the same. I like to think that for most of you, coming to ALA has already been that first step, and I congratulate you for that. Step 2, back to the lovely diagram. Fail forward. Let me explain that in a second. If you embrace these hard choices and put yourselves in situations where you might fail, then probably you will fail. And that's fine. What matters is not if you fail or that you fail. What matters is what happens after. What matters is what do you do after you fail. What matters is that you come out better and stronger than you came in. What matters is not that you fall. What matters is that you get up and what do you do after that. Here at ALA, you will be faced with a lot of options that will be outside of your comfort zone. Today you will see a parade of cultures. I hope you take the challenge of meeting someone from a different culture, from a different country, a different religion. That boy and that girl that you haven't had the chance to talk to them. That course that you really don't know is what it is about. You might fail it. If you can, take it. It might change your life. A sport that you have never taken, try it. If you're scared of singing, try joining a cappella. If you're scared of acting, join Ubuntu and try acting. Stretch yourselves. Put yourselves in positions to fail. While you're here, first years at ALA, I hope that you will be uncomfortable. I hope that you will be scared. I hope that you will be wrong. And I hope that you will fail. From the heart. But I hope that when you fail forward, and we'll be there for you. Step 3. Oh, actually, sorry, do not take it from me. Take it from a Nobel Prize winner. An expert is a person who has made all the mistakes that can be made in a very narrow field. I hope that you become experts at living, that you become experts at leadership, which is why you're here, one would say. Step 3. Rewrite your story. Reflect, reinterpret, and rewrite your story. Once you've gone through this arduous, painful process of taking chances and making hard decisions and failing, after all the battles lost and won, after all your experiences, your accomplishments, your failures, your lessons learned, look back and reflect. Whether you're proud or ashamed of your life, of the things that you have done or the things you have not done, put the pieces together, stare at the facts in the eye, and draw a picture of your life, of who you are and who you want to be and where you're going. What is the picture that comes out of it? This is the story of your life. But let me tell you a secret. It is not the facts that tell your story, you tell your own story. And this is key. Let me tell you some facts about myself. And these are facts, trust me. Source, myself. Between ages 6 and 10, I was bullied. And I never stood up to those bullies because I was scared. And I have been ashamed of that my whole life, that I never stood up to them. When I was 12, my parents went bankrupt. So my sister had to drop out of college. I started a business and it failed. I left my country even though I knew that doing so probably meant that my parents would split up. And I left a prestigious, high-paying job in San Francisco and ended up in Honeydew. These are facts, and they don't tell my story. If you just look at those facts in isolation, you could draw any sort of story, any kind of interpretation. You could draw a story of shame, of fear, of defeat, but that's not my story. Here's how I tell my story. Between ages 6 and 10, I was bullied and I was scared, so I never stood up to them, and I have been ashamed about that my whole life. But going through this experience taught me that the regrets that come from not standing up for yourself, for not doing the right thing, hurt more than a punch in the stomach. And therefore, my whole life after that, I have not let fear stop me. Furthermore, it gave me the empathy to understand people that fear. And I have promised myself that I will never let someone be bullied, not on my watch. My parents went bankrupt when I was 12. So I started working when I was 15, and I started a business when I was 18. Even though I knew this business would fail and that my parents would split up, I left Peru because I wanted to do something bigger with my life than paying the bills. I left a prestigious, high-paying job in San Francisco because I realized that I had to be true to myself and I was not motivated by the corporate life. So I left all of that, sold everything, and I left everything I knew to come to Africa to follow a dream about a school. So when I tell myself my story in my moments of solitude, I start getting a clear understanding of who I am because of the hard decisions that I made and the reasons why I made them and the challenges that I took and how I went about them. So, year ones, here at ALA, you've come with a story. All of you have very compelling stories. That's why you were accepted, right? We were already impressed by you. I hope that over the 2 years that you'll be here and for the rest of your lives, you keep reflecting and reinterpreting your story. If your story remains the same and remains unchanged, at least I hope that you know that you wrote it. And if your story changes, so be it. Reinterpret your story, reflect on everything you've done, and rewrite your story. Once you get to this point and you reflect back on your life, I hope that you have the certainty that you are the authors of your own story. Finally, back to the diagram. Once you've rewritten your story, you move on to the next chapter, and you take more challenges and embrace more hard choices. Year ones, I hope you love your time here at ALA, but I do hope you fail and fail forward. Thank you.